All right, it's My Mom's Basement. It is Robbie Fox, and I am here back with Tony Khan. We are here ahead of AEW Dynamite at the UBS Arena. Is that what it's called in Long Island? On Long Island? Sorry, I can't say in Long Island.
On Long Island.
On Long Island. I can't wait for it. AEW is on a tear right now. Obviously, MJF, the talk of Long Island right now, the MJF versus CM Punk feud. We've got Bryan Danielson and Hangman. Amazing feud there. The TBS title tournament. The tag division is on fire right now. I feel like AEW is on a tear. Want to start with MJF and CM Punk because it's Long Island. Everyone's going to be talking about that. What did you think about that 20-minute back and forth? I mean, that was, in my opinion, one of the best wrestling segments of the year. So what were you thinking backstage listening to that?
I felt it was going to be a huge critical and commercial success. I knew people were reacting and responding, and people around the world were watching it, but also that it would build a huge audience. On Thanksgiving Eve, people that would come back and watch it on video. We saw not only our biggest DVR audience we've had, and it ended up being our most watched Dynamite of the month. It's intrigued fans around the world. On Thanksgiving Day, I saw, this is an amazing stat, the top 2 trending videos in the world on YouTube were the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and MJF and CM Punk promo. And all day, those were the top 2 videos on YouTube, which I thought was really cool. And
CM Punk kind of like weirdly runs Thanksgiving. Like his original, like when he came out and told the whole story about his previous employer, that was on Thanksgiving. Isn't that kind of weird?
He is the king of Thanksgiving. And by the way, on the holiday movies, I have to reuse it. I made a great comparison on another show. CM Punk is much like Kevin McAllister, the king of the holiday movie. Is your favorite holiday movie being Home Alone. It's also my favorite Christmas movie. And that CM Punk, much like Kevin McAllister, is a Chicago guy through and through, but also super over here in New York and pretty much everywhere he goes, except maybe for Long Island. And if CM Punk were Kevin McAllister, let me take this much further than I did before. Now I'll make it. Now it's really yours. Now you've claimed this analogy for your own because I didn't get this far earlier. If CM Punk were Kevin McAllister, then perhaps he might be lost on Long Island, and perhaps MJF might be the Wet Bandits or the Sticky Bandits.
Or Sticky, depending on which movie you wanted to go with.
And that's really, I mean, like it's like a Harry and Marv type situation, but they're in their own territory here. So, I don't know if UBS Arena is going to be Duncan's toy chest, but it's going to be very exciting here. Situation to see with MJF as the hometown hero, because like Tony Schiavone coined the expression, wherever CM Punk goes, he's the home team. But here, I think this might be the one exception, so I'm excited to see.
It could be, yeah. I can't wait to see how the crowd's going to react. Speaking of the crowd reacting, someone I brought up, Bryan Danielson and Hangman. I love this feud. Are you surprised that the crowd turned on Bryan as quickly as they did?
No, not at all. It was kind of exactly what we expected was going to happen. Bryan certainly leaned into it. And
it was just straight heat right away. It wasn't even like the crowd was torn. It was just straight boos. It was crazy.
Yeah, they haven't even seen the most of Bryan yet. I think wait till they get a load of what Bryan has in store. I can't wait for Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson to have Hangman win the world title. It's been such a cool build. I know from talking to you and like so many other wrestling fans, people were excited to see Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega. The build has been huge. And at Full Gear, it was such a classic title match.
Great culmination, yeah.
And after a story that's gone on for years, literally.
Yep.
And so now we have this great champion, Hangman Page. And for his first defense to be against Bryan Danielson, who I think is not only the best wrestler in the world, but maybe the best wrestler of all time.
Yeah, I agree. He's my favorite.
Me too. And so I think Bryan Danielson to be the number one contender for the first title match. What a way for Hangman Page to start his title reign, and frankly, it could be the end of his title reign.
Absolutely.
And Winter is Coming is one of the biggest shows of the year, so I wanted to deliver for the fans. I try to put the biggest matches on Dynamite and Rampage, whether it was debuting CM Punk on Rampage at the first dance, and the huge wrestling we try and put on every Friday night on TNT, which is honestly right in the demo of Barstool, right? The Rampage is there's going to be people up late watching your show and who watch the great shows on Barstool and listen to the great podcasts. Because it's the core demo.
It's not even that late. Yeah.
Friday night, 10 o'clock is not late, let's be honest. It's like pregame hours.
Yeah.
And it's a great pregame show.
Yeah.
And frankly, it's wrestling that you don't have to be embarrassed to show people, because it's just going to be great matches and great athletes. Just look at the show this past week. People very impressed by the debut of Tony Nese to come in and have a great TNT title match against Sammy Guevara. It was a crazy pull apart with Jade and Thunder Rosa. The TBS tournament down to the Final Four. It's really exciting what's going on, and I think it's the best women's tournament in a long time anyone's seen, certainly in America. And then also, what a great tag match. And we were in a tough circumstance with Phoenix not being there, not cleared to come. So, what happened? Certainly at the end of the show with Malachi Black, a big surprise to everybody, but what a great wrestling match and a great main event, Pac and Penta versus FTR.
Yeah.
Great tag team match. And there's been some great matches like that. Adam Cole and Bobby Fish have had a couple great matches on Rampage lately. So it's absolutely awesome. And then on Dynamite every Wednesday, our flagship show, this is the last month of Dynamite ever on TNT. And I want to go out with the best month we've ever had. I want to go out, which is saying something, because this run of Dynamite on TNT is the biggest thing ever in my life. It's the greatest thing I've ever been a part of. And it's coming to an end, but something amazing starting with the run on TBS. And I want to make the final month here on TNT of Dynamite and the first month on TBS of Dynamite so huge. And it's great Rampage is staying on TNT, so we're still going to have our TNT still at home of AEW. But to have the Rampage staying is huge. But the end of Dynamite on TNT, it's emotional. I can't think of any place I'd rather have it than where we're having it, which is Daly's place.
Yeah, absolutely. Last time you were here, we talked about SmackDown going head-to-head with Rampage. And that was a big thing. Wrestling fans were talking all about it. Do you anticipate that happening more often?
I don't know. Maybe when there's preemptions. It wasn't really our choice. A lot of times people, I think I have a reputation for coming out aggressively in the media, but it's usually only in response to real world stuff. That was an example. During the Wednesday Night Wars, we had to be aggressive, but we didn't choose for there to be a TV battle. We just had to bring the fight, and we brought the fight and won it. And that was another time that you just brought up where I was here last time I saw you, and it turned out we had a head-to-head competitor, which I wasn't expecting. But I certainly wanted to bring the competition. We thankfully had already announced a great card before I found out there was competition, because we didn't know about the 30-minute overrun and this head-to-head thing that we were going to be doing for 30 minutes, which we won the demo. We won the 18-49, which is, honestly, mostly your core demo here. So thank you to all the great fans. It means a lot to have the support, because that was huge for us. And we had already announced CM Punk versus Matt Sydal and Ruby Soho versus the Bunny. It was a great card, and it was the fans really tuned in for it, and it was pretty cool because people said terrible things about Matt Sydal and the Bunny and about CM Punk and Ruby Soho, and they delivered huge numbers. And Punk and Sydal came out of the gate, and they were up against a huge match, and they won. And then for Ruby Soho and the Bunny to be up against some huge stars and put up the number they did, it was amazing. And to win the half hour head-to-head, especially all weekend, people spent leaking numbers to the contrary. And then when the real numbers came out, that I was wondering why the demo hadn't come out. I thought maybe it was a good sign. Yeah. And it turned out it was. So, now I'm back and we're promoting something that's not as about the competition as much, because I think right now it's just a great time in wrestling, When the shows are head-to-head, there is some excitement, and it definitely fuels excitement, but there's other good things about being able to watch. Like right now, think about it, almost every night of the week there's so much good wrestling on TV, and it's
a great time to be a wrestling fan. Like I said, watch your wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do want everyone to watch your wrestling, and I know you watch your wrestling, and I watch my wrestling, and I want all the fans to watch your wrestling, and I hope that includes Dynamite on Wednesdays and Rampage on Fridays. But, there's lots of stuff happening in wrestling. It's really exciting. And whenever somebody brings competition to us, I just want to aggressively promote it. But I'm also not, looking to start that stuff. So it's probably, a bit of a misconception.
Have you ever had a conversation with Vince McMahon?
No, never. I heard from them recently. I'll break this news here. I don't think it's being aggressive or anything to say it. I heard from them recently. They're doing documentaries and a lot of the biographies, they've been doing the biography shows. So this is, I guess, breaking news. I heard from them recently. They were doing a lot of biographies, and they wanted to use some of the people here, and I think that's a thing. It's probably going to come out sooner or later.
In interviews
They wanted to interview some of the people that wrestle here that used to wrestle there, and some people that have had history there, or the other libraries that they own, and so we'll see. I think I'm open to talking. I heard from them, and they were very nice.
Is that the first time you've heard from them since AEW started?
No, it's not. We've heard a couple other things. We did the thing last year. Chris Jericho did the thing with Steve Austin.
Oh, yeah.
And that made sense to me because of Steve, right?
Yeah.
And I trust Steve and Chris completely, and Steve's a friend of mine, and Chris is a friend of mine.
They talked about AEW on that a lot.
It's super classy, and as long as everything's classy, and the way they approached me was very classy, so I have nothing bad to say about that. And so I don't know if we'll see that competition head to head, but I'm considering some of these requests on some of these biographies, and it was actually a very nice call I received the other day, but I've never actually talked to Vince himself.
Interesting. Something we talked about the last time you were here, another promoter that you have a very good relationship with is Dana White. And Dana, how long have you known Dana?
Only since the pandemic, really.
Really?
Because, he was in Jacksonville, and we were, actually in adjacent bubbles, because at one point there was, a hotel that basically was just split up between AEW and UFC on different parts of this biggest hotel in the region. And so there was a lot of conference space and rooms, and we set up bubbles in different parts of this hotel, and we had our testing and did all that stuff, and that was pretty cool. And they did the shows, as you remember, in Jacksonville. Yeah. So we had a lot of time to get to know each other, and he's just a really cool guy. And that was one of the things I was committed to do when they set up in Jacksonville, was as we were running our own shows safely through the pandemic, and they were running their shows safely through the pandemic. It was cool getting to know Dana and become friends with him, and they have such an amazing promotion, UFC, and it's been fun having some of the great fighters come in, along with American Top Team and Dan Lambert, and that's something to keep an eye on too. And some of the biggest fighters in the world, some UFC stars and former UFC stars have been in, and I think that's awesome. And they're the 800-pound gorilla in the world of combat sports, and I think it's just awesome getting to know Dana, because I can see why he's been so successful. He's a really cool guy too.
The last time you were here, you played a voicemail for me. Can we play the voicemail for the people?
Yeah.
From Dana himself, because
I'll get it out. Yep.
Honestly hilarious and very. It speaks to who Dana is, kind of off camera, I guess, but it is who he is on camera too.
Well, so last year I was fortunate. I won some awards in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and thanks to the great fans voting, and Promoter of the Year was an award I won, and Dave Meltzer had some quotes about it.
Here, I'll hold it up to my mic.
I can hold it up to your microphone.
Yeah, I'll go like this.
Sure.
It's funny. Today Dave Meltzer wrote a story about me going to Jacksonville, and he's obviously completely against it. And he says, for all the people that were bitching and wondering why Dana White didn't win Promoter of the Year last year, now you know. And I'm like, if I didn't win, who the fuck won? I looked it up, and it was you. I was like, well, listen, if somebody's going to fucking win it, let it be fucking Tony.
Pretty good. Pretty cool.
Dana's awesome. That was a great message to get. And my reply to that is honestly, put that on my tombstone, Dana.
Yeah, yeah.
You can put that on my tombstone. I'll say it right now. To get that from him. And I have so much respect for Dana and all the success of the UFC.
So speaking of year-end awards, I'd like to do some year-end awards with you on this show, being we're towards the end of this year. So do you have a favorite match of the year?
Yeah, I've. Can I pick a favorite television and a pay-per-view?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Even better.
Thanks. Favorite TV match would be St. Patrick's Day Slam, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa Lights Out match.
It's up there for me as well.
And then favorite pay-per-view match would be Young Bucks versus Lucha Brothers cage match.
Steel cage match.
All Out. And it's hard to pick on All Out because I also thought CM Punk versus Darby was outstanding. Yeah. And there's been so many great pay-per-view matches. Darby and MJF had such a great match this pay-per-view.
Punk versus Kingston is one of my favorite matches of the year.
I loved Punk versus
That was just, it was the shortest match on the show, I think. It was 11 minutes.
It was, as the timer, I know.
And it was just balls to the wall, fight from the start.
It was the only match under 16:50.
Yeah.
And every other match, and from a timing standpoint.
Didn't feel like it, though.
As a person who formats a show, I knew I was putting myself into a tight situation, but we were able to still have all these great matches and have Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, which would be up there for also, honestly, Hangman versus Kenny. They had unquestionably my favorite match of the year prior, Kenny and Hangman versus the Young Bucks, is maybe the best match ever in AEW.
Maybe the best tag team match ever.
Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks may be the best tag match ever, and I think so. We've had some great wrestling, and this year was great, and I think those would be my top picks. But there'd be I think you've named some other great selections.
Obviously, Bryan and Omega going to a time limit draw's got to be up there, right?
That would be from the Grand Slam, AEW Dynamite. I would absolutely say the 30-minute draw between Danielson and Omega would be right there with the Britt Thunder Rosa Lights Out match.
Yeah.
The Phoenix and Pac versus Young Bucks match from April 14th was outstanding.
Yeah.
That was a 5-star match on television. Also, we opened the year with Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix.
Yeah.
Had a great match.
That one feels like so long ago. It's crazy that was this year.
And it's crazy because the year's almost divided into two halves for AEW, and really for both companies.
Like the Daily's Place half?
Yeah, because literally half and half, because the first 6 months we did everything through June, the end of June, was in Daly's Place. So we did 6 months in Daly's Place, and then we've been on the road 6 months, and then we're going to end it fittingly.
And it is, it's fun to have both halves, because the Daly's Place shows were great. They were a lot of fun.
There's also been a lot of great wrestling history in Greensboro, Dallas, and now here on Long Island, where we're going to be. So we're hitting all these great cities for the final run of Dynamite. It's not by accident. So to have this great show on Long Island, and then winter is coming in Dallas, and then to do the Holiday Bash, which is coming to Greensboro. It's going to be the Holiday Bash officially, which is going to take place across 2 days. And I'm we were talking about before the show, I'm also a big Christmas guy.
Yeah.
And something very special that I can tell everyone officially, the Holiday Bash will be live from Greensboro on the 22nd. And Rampage is not going to be on Friday, Christmas Eve. Rampage will be a Saturday,
awesome.
Christmas Rampage.
Awesome.
Yeah, Christmas night, which I think is better for TV. And Christmas Eve, and
Christmas night, everyone's getting back from the party. You're all full, and you need something to throw on.
Christmas night Rampage. It's gonna
Christmas
be
night Rampage. There you go. That's amazing. Your favorite moment of the year?
My favorite moment of the year would be I'll also pick a TV and a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
A TV, The First Dance, the arrival of CM Punk.
I was going to say, it's got to be, right? If you're a wrestling fan and that's not your favorite moment of the year, what are you doing?
The First Dance. And then we have, on pay-per-view, I would say, the end of All Out, where Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole, the double reveal, Adam Cole and the Bryan Danielson, and then standing there, of course, as it would line up for the TV with Bryan Danielson, Christian Cage, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, and Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Adam Cole. And it was wow, this is going to... And that would be my favorite pay-per-view moment, I think. And you also had the arrival of Ruby Soho and Punk versus Darby.
Suzuki came in on the same show.
Yeah, all in the one
crazy.
pay-per-view. So much. And All Out was one of the great shows. All Out, what a great event. And one of the things that makes AEW really special to me, and I think for the fans, why this is a great time in wrestling, is it's been 20 years since there was, I think, this close of a competition. Even when a week where people would knock the Dynamite rating, it's still within striking distance of Raw.
Yeah.
And and in a week where people
it's not like Raw's putting up amazing ratings right now either.
Both companies, they're good. These are good ratings. First of all, you have to look. The TV audience declined by 9% last year, and right now it's down by last count I just got 12%. So every number you have to look at, anything that's level year over year is really now plus 12% year over year, plus 9%. So it's over 20% drop over the last 2 years. So the numbers that were from 2 years ago, people have to look. The universe has changed.
Going digital.
That much, it's gone digital, and we have a great audience there too. And frankly, so does WWE. Both companies are poised very well for the future, and it's a good thing. But we're right there, and it's been a long time since the two companies it's been so long since the top two wrestling companies have been this close to each other, and both are very strong. And it's been the last time the two companies were both this competitive and the business was this strong was 1998.
Yeah.
And that was the peak of wrestling. So the world is very digital, and wrestling happens to be something that's very strong digitally and on cable and satellite, and WWE is putting up some interesting stuff on network television too, and God bless them with that. And so it's the most competitive the wrestling world's been in a long time. And people, frankly, there was never another company as an alternative that presented anything that was a true competitive alternative. And I'll give you examples, okay? They say that, nobody would run a big show. I know that Ring of Honor and New Japan did the one show in, the Ring of Honor did the one show where they had all the New Japan people. And, of course, I think that when the fans... I had originally bought the Ring of Honor tickets. I do believe a lot of the sellout crowd probably thought when they bought those tickets months in advance they were going to see the people that didn't end up being there with Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and Cody and Hangman.
Definitely.
And that was part of it. But So nobody else has really done anything at Madison Square Garden in 30, 40, 50 years. WCW never even did it, right?
Yeah.
But WCW, they had their own buildings, they ran all over the country and had dome stadiums, and nobody's done anything like that in the live attendance world since. It's one of the reasons why I have so much respect for Eric Bischoff. We haven't talked in a while, and I probably would at some point. I probably should talk to Eric because we're friends. But we just, I honestly super busy, and then some of the I was surprised by some of the stuff he said. I guess he was taken aback by stuff I said.
Yeah.
But there's only really 3 big wrestling presidents in my lifetime that have had a big run, and he's one of them, and Vince McMahon's one of them, and now thanks to the great wrestling fans, now I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And so there's only 3 of us, so it's important for us to have a good relationship. But I haven't talked to him in a while, and they did such great things. But now when you look at it, nobody else is running the big show at Madison Square Garden, but we have Arthur Ashe Stadium. Mm-hmm. And we haven't run the Staples Center, at least not yet, but we run the United Center, which is pretty amazing, and nobody's done that in a long time. And what a great crowd we had at the first dance.
AEW, Chicago is AEW territory at this point.
Chicago
New York feels like it too.
Chicago's my home. I was there for Thanksgiving, and now New York here.
Yeah.
Being here on Long Island, and we're drawing this great audience on Long Island, and also coming back. Hopefully I'll see you in a few weeks. I'd love to come back and visit you again when we are doing the start of Dynamite on TBS. I'm so focused on making the end of Dynamite on TNT huge and a very fitting way to end what has been the biggest run of anything in my life, and then to make Dynamite on TBS launch is a huge success. So there's huge plans for the weeks and months ahead, and it's going to be the biggest run of TV we've had. And somebody asked me recently, just very recently here, has it been hard not to throw all the big stars in the big matches? And I said, well, I haven't done it yet. We've been built to them. We built to, we had Omega versus Danielson. We've had big matches, and we're building to big matches on television. And now, just like we did Kenny versus Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam, we're building to more big matches like that. Can you imagine anything bigger on television than what's coming? Winter is coming with Bryan Danielson versus Hangman for the world title.
That's the biggest match in wrestling right now. It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's building between CM Punk and MJF, I think, is also the big dream match. So a lot of exciting stuff happening in AEW, and with the TBS tournament, many people feel is the most exciting women's tournament and the best women's wrestling tournament in a long time. And the TBS tournament down to 4 wrestlers with Nyla Rose, Ruby Soho, Jade Cargill, and Thunder Rosa, and the best women's champion in all of wrestling, maybe the best world champion in all of wrestling, is Dr. Britt Baker. And also Rio, now the number 1 contender again.
Yeah.
And Rio has never lost a match to Britt Baker. Britt Baker, every match she's
every singles match. I think there's 1 tag match, right?
Well, I think every singles match.
Maybe she didn't get pinned.
There's also the four-way on at the Homecoming show on January 1st, 2000. So they've had, I believe, Britt has never beaten Rio in a one-on-one or multi-person match, and. So Rio's got this amazing record against Britt, and I think as the first ever AEW champion, that's something to keep an eye on. And with that and the TBS tournament heating up, it's such an exciting time for AEW, I think. And there's more to come, surprises to come. I think I plan to be still active signing great wrestlers, and I think it's a great time to be a fan. And I want to give the fans something to look forward to going into the holidays. So we have big shows coming up, Long Island, and Winter's Coming Dallas, and this Greensboro show. There's a great tradition of holiday shows in Greensboro, and I think we can bring something really special around Christmas time with a holiday bash on Dynamite and Rampage.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be awesome, and and again, and then we get to do it all again to start the TBS era in Newark with the great fans here, and I'm just so excited to be able to do the shows here and come up and see you guys, because thanks to Barstool and thanks to your guys' loyal and dedicated audience, it's really helped us stay engaged with young fans, because you guys have such a great audience here, and you guys have been such a great home to us for interviews. So I really appreciate every time you have me.
Of course, yeah, appreciate you coming in. Who do you think the breakout performer of the year was?
The breakout performer of the year, in my opinion, was Dr. Britt Baker, the world champion. And we talked about how that was, I thought, my favorite TV match.
Yeah.
And then she went from there and took that platform, the big main event match on Dynamite at the St. Patrick's Day Slam, and went on. And of course, she didn't win the Lights Out match, but she proved how tough she was by fighting through it, and then took that because that didn't count against her record since it was a lights out unsanctioned fight. And she really took that and built off that performance, that match, and she kicked ass the rest of the year. And she's just not only had great wrestling matches, but she's really built herself a star. And I also, another great champion who I think had a breakout year, in my opinion. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the other pillars. And Darby Allin, a TNT champion, and I think what a breakout year he had.
Recent match with MJF was outrageously good.
CM Punk match also. He's had these amazing matches with CM Punk and MJF, and he's also won every match he's had with Sting this year. And Sting and he's had this team he's set up with Sting, and they are
kind of convinced Sting to come back. I just interviewed Darby. We kind of talked about that. Like, that has to be a check on his resume as well for this year. Like, kind of convinced Sting to get back in the ring, and Sting's having amazing matches now.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing the run Sting's had because, to be honest, I don't know if they told you much about it, but Sting was like wanted to get back into wrestling, and now he's like an every week wrestler.
Yeah,
and I take a lot of pride in wrestling in like pairing people up and finding pairs that work, and like we've made a lot of new pairs and new entities in AEW, and we've also had a lot of people that have worked together in the past, and we respect history. So it's, I think, the best of both worlds, where like just like teams that have reformed and have a lot of history together, and then forming new combinations like Darby and Sting, and they fit together like a glove on a hand, in my opinion. And
I loved Sting doing the Darby-inspired makeup recently and all that. It was great. It was
and
so
then
cool to see.
Seeing Darby firsthand, working with him as a mentor, when I asked him to mentor Darby and work with him, Sting, since he's come back, they've not only become, honestly, really close, like friends, but Darby has inspired him and told him, you can do it, and helped him believe in himself. And look at Sting now wrestling regularly on Dynamite last week.
Looking awesome doing it.
And every match they've won. And so what a breakout year that Darby and Sting have had, and also what a great comeback Sting had, because, look, it had been a while since Sting had won wrestling matches. Like, the last time we saw Sting, he wasn't winning matches. The whole time he was back in his last run in the competition.
I think he had like 2 or 3 matches he lost.
They screwed him out of multiple matches, let's be honest. And he should have been presented better, and that's one thing I won't I'll back down on, is Sting deserves to be treated like one of the great legends in wrestling, and I set out to do that from the beginning with him, and I think he and Darby have had a great year, and what a great thing for them to be right now on an undefeated winning streak, 5-0. And also pretty cool that we've had Sammy Guevara, one of the pillars, also become the TNT champion. And
he's had a great run already with that title.
He's had a great run of matches. He's had, the Blood and Guts match in the Stadium Stampede, where he was a breakout star, and he had one of the best matches all year on television with MJF. At the end of our Daily's Place run, you couldn't ask for a better match to send it off than that amazing main event with Sammy Guevara and MJF. Again, pillars. And then come back to MJF, who now he's going into this Long Island Dynamite, where he's in the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royale, and he's going to try and defend it. We'll see if he can retain it. We'll see if he can three-peat. But the run he's had with that ring, he's used it to win a lot of big matches. And we saw him and Darby, as we just talked about, Darby and him, one of the best pay-per-view matches you'll ever see. I think one of the best openers I've ever seen. Definitely, I would list it on the Mount Rushmore of pay-per-view opens of all the dozens and dozens of great pay-per-views there's ever been. And, so MJF now in this story and having these promos back and forth and clearly building to something special with MJF versus CM Punk. And that's been a big breakout. And so MJF and, of course, Jungle Boy. And for him to win the, first of all, for them to win the Casino Battle Royale. But also to, for him to win the Casino Battle Royale, that was huge. But I also have to say, he's been in some of the greatest tag matches of the year, and I didn't want to sell those short because he's been so great as a singles wrestler and as a tag wrestler, because I thought that the trios street fight that he had with Luchasaurus and Christian Cage versus the Young Bucks and Adam Cole was so outstanding. But I also thought that the tag matches that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy have had on television have been just so good. They recently had a great match with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish on Rampage.
It's awesome.
Awesome long match that you can come to expect, like on Friday nights. Great wrestling on Friday nights on Rampage and Wednesday nights on Dynamite. And I think Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus as a tag team have been great, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up some of his great singles matches this year, including winning that Casino Battle Royale as a breakout moment, and also I just have to say his match with Kenny Omega. What a kick-ass match on Dynamite. Again, one of the last matches of that run in Daly's place before we went back out on the road, and Omega and Jungle Boy, there was a hot crowd for that. It was one of the last Dynamites in Daly's.
Starting to fill that place up at that point.
Yeah, it was cool. It was when we were finally allowed to pack the place, and it was starting to get packed, and it was really cool to be able to do that, sell the place out for double or nothing when we were finally able to safely fill that outdoor amphitheater again.
So I have 3 fan questions, the first of which isn't really a question, but I put out the call for fan questions, and friend Danhausen reached out, and he said, can you please tell Tony I said hello, and you could put a question mark at the end of it if you really needed to be a question. So Danhausen says hello.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that. Was that with a question mark at the end of it?
Hello? Yeah, he says hello.
That's great. Okay, very good. Well, the hello.
Are you familiar with Danhausen?
I'm very familiar with Danhausen.
Okay.
He was on the Jericho cruise.
Yeah, he was. Question from Chuck and Trent, who were just in here before. They said to have Tony tell his side of the post-parking lot fight celebration you guys had. They said you guys immediately celebrated and rewatched that match the second it was over.
It was a perfect match. So I was really excited about the parking lot fight. I was about as excited as I've been about anything we've done because it was perfect, and
so
it was
good,
not.
Yeah.
It could have been if we needed to, but it wasn't a cinematic match. It was all one run.
That's what they were saying.
We
Yeah,
didn't change anything.
They said the cameramen were excited and cheering at the end of that because they knew they could go home.
Everybody went nuts.
Yeah.
It was like that was just a home run match, and it was like a real fight.
That's one of the best, or that's last year at this point, yeah.
It was an idea I'd had all through the pandemic. I had there was like, at the beginning when we knew there weren't going to be fans in the arenas, I tried to think of ideas of things that would be awesome.
Just
things
fun and different?
Yeah, different. And, we ended up having these great matches. What a great match, Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy against Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho in the street fight last year. That was one of the great street fights I've seen on TV, and that was a forerunner, kind of a precursor to the wild action and the story that led to the original Stadium Stampede.
Yep.
And around that same time, I really wanted to do a parking lot fight, and I felt like we could do a really special one in AEW. And something brewed, just a great story, great rivalry between Best Friends and Santana Ortiz. And I always wanted to do this, and I always felt like something that would really, after just the most awesome fight, something you have to remember, like, the world of wrestling, it's very polarizing, and characters in AEW, I want them to be three-dimensional, and different people have different perspectives. Just like in Long Island, I expect like MJF will get a great reaction, whereas CM Punk would probably get the bigger reaction 99% of the other markets.
Yeah.
It's a different crowd, and it's a different thing. I think it's just something to keep an eye on, with the Best Friends and Santana Ortiz, that the Best Friends fought dirty. And they had Orange Cassidy in the trunk, and that they resorted to doing something dirty to win the fight, and I felt like it would be an awesome moment. So that, from the beginning, I thought would be such a great payoff if it was as special a match as we thought it could be, then it was just going to be a real exclamation point, and it would make sense because after everything Santana Ortiz had done, and after they trashed the van and the terrible things they'd said about Trent's mother, Sue, and all the awful stuff they'd done to the Best Friends and Sue and Trent's family and that van, I felt like it would be such a great payoff, and I loved the idea of Orange Cassidy popping out.
It's great.
Similar how for a long time I wanted Orange Cassidy to pop out of the cake at the wedding. And that was
Chris popped out of the crane machine, the claw machine. The Best Friends just keep popping out of stuff.
That was it. That was also a great moment. The
Arcade Anarchy, right?
At Arcade Anarchy, that was another big payoff I had.
That's great.
So the Best Friends consistent, and then Trent also at Arcade Anarchy made a great return.
Yep.
So there was a lot of great moments and great payoffs, and you can count on the Best Friends sometimes to have those things up their sleeves. But so I was so happy when we got that recorded, and I just like ran from Gorilla to where they were filming it, which was on the other side of Daly's place.
They said that. They said they saw you just running with your arms up in the air.
I was so excited. We got it, and there's great photos, and the guys are all bloody and covered in glass, and we're all hugging, and then I was bloody and covered in glass, but I didn't care at all, and I was so happy because it was such a great match, and I was so happy for them that they got the 5-star rating. Because they deserved it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the craziest things we've ever put on TV, absolutely. And,
definitely.
For the fans last year in the pandemic, we tried to put on great stuff like that, and that was one of the home runs, I thought. So the Best Friends and Santana Ortiz was a great match.
Tremendous. And the final question from Paul Walter Hauser. He wants to know, what are your top 3 favorite finishers?
Oh, what a great question. Well, my top 3 favorite finishers would probably be...
And then I'll throw on, what's your favorite in AEW right now?
Okay. Well, then that makes it that much of a better question. I would say the Scorpion Deathlock would be an all-time favorite, and I would say that could also probably be a favorite in AEW. The Scorpion Deathlock, man, was it cool, and Sting did the double Scorpion Deathlock. That was pretty amazing. So that would be up there for me. I would say, and it's a great question because now I didn't know it was coming, so you've really got me thinking. Well, I want to give a nuanced answer because I do think it's pretty great question. And it's amazing because like Bryan Danielson, I was just thinking about this. I mean, Bryan Danielson is arguably my favorite wrestler, and he has so many great different moves that you could list just one wrestler. But that is just among Bryan Danielson, you could probably pick 3 great finishers, honestly.
Yeah. Cattle mutilation, running knee, label lock. There's 3 right there.
That's 3 right there. And also, like, we just saw him injure Alan Angel's ankle with it. And so really, I would say Scorpion Deathlock for sure. The Macho Man elbow drop for sure is going to be in there. So that's 2. And for 3, I would say, and this is covering a lot of ground, the spike pile driver used by FTR and the Brainbusters before them, and a lot of great teams. And the spike pile drivers, I've always thought is a great finish. And the Young Bucks use a variation, the Meltzer driver, which is their variation on a spike pile driver, the spike tombstone springboard. So that's a great move too. FTR, the classic spike pile driver, I think that's a great one. Few of those are from the world of AEW, and I think the all-time favorite, the Scorpion Deathlock.
That's a great one. Great answer. Great interview. Tony, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to Dynamite tomorrow. I'll be there, me and Brandon Walker.
Let's go. Thanks for coming, and thank you to all the great fans who support AEW, and thank you to Barstool for always giving us these great interviews.
Hell yeah.